Yeah, that actually really sucked. That was bad because they told me that yeah, they put a plate in my orbital, right? So they're like, "Yo, you really can't exert effort and force because air pressure, connected with your eye, you need to let it heal and set in place." So yeah, that was annoying. And for I think 2 months, they were like, "Don't do anything, no exercise, like no jogging, nothing."
February 19th, man, you make your return back into the UFC octagon. Chas Skelly is your opponent. How do you view this matchup?
I think it's a good fight for me. Chaz has been fighting in the UFC since 2014, I think. So he's a UFC vet, and you know, um, I think it's a good fight for me. And if I can get this W, it puts me right in the mix with everything in the UFC in the featherweight division.
For sure, when you see like, you yourself only have one fight in the UFC. He has a bunch. He's been in the UFC for many years. The matchmaking, was it kind of odd for you or was it just something that's in your favor?
Um, yeah, to be honest, I didn't really think about it that much. I just viewed it as an opportunity. I mean, you know, kind of like the last fight against Said. I'm like, okay, another an opportunity. Just gotta, your next fight is always your biggest fight, and every fight is a big opportunity to prove yourself and get your name in the mix and get your name out there. And I've been fighting in Asia for a long time, right? So this is a good fight for me to get my name out here in the States because he's been fighting for a while. And we're both 18-3, which is interesting. Identical records, which is pretty funny. Like I don't think that's ever happened in my fight career. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is, it is. And you mentioned, Skelly being a known veteran. Like when you look at his skill set, he hasn't really like changed too much over the years. When you watch his fights, what do you see
Yeah,
him as a skill set wise?
I think his nickname, the Scrapper, fits his skill set like very yeah, describes his skill set perfectly. He's just a scrappy, tough veteran. He just makes it an ugly fight a lot of the times, and just a scrappy, tough guy. So with a guy like that, I just got to make sure that I'm sharp and that I come in good shape.
Definitely. Are you allured by that scrappiness? Like you want to get into that, like a 15-minute scrap?
Yeah, if it happens, I'll be ready for it. I've had some wars like that in my career. So if it goes to that, then by all means, let's do it. But yeah, of course, a nice finish, a nice finish. Is a nice finish. But of course, if it goes to a 15-minute war and decision, then that's what it'll be.
Now let's hop back to 2020. You made your UFC debut, didn't go as planned. You had COVID, and also you had an opponent change. Those are two major factors leading into a fight. When you look back at that experience, what sticks out the most?
You know, I was, I just feel blessed that I got the opportunity, at the start of the pandemic to go over to the States and to sign with the UFC and, flying over all the way from the Philippines and Asia. And of course, yeah, it didn't go as planned. No one wants to lose their UFC debut, but yeah, it's the fight game. Sometimes, crap happens and you just got to roll with it. And here we are. So, um, yeah, getting COVID sucked. Um, yeah, I had all the symptoms, but thankfully recovered pretty well. It was just funny how I got it on fight week at the fighter hotel. It was, yeah, pretty dramatic. But yeah, I'm happy that I fully recovered from it. Thank God for that, and ready to go here for my second shot.
When you got COVID, you said it was pretty dramatic at the fighter hotel. Were people flipping out? Like they were thinking like it's just gonna be everybody on the card or something?
No, because actually UFC did a really good job. They do a really good job with. I mean, now I'm sure things are a little different, but this was at the start of the pandemic, like just a few months in. So the whole hotel was just for the UFC. They rented out the whole hotel, and our floor, like on our floor, I didn't see anyone on our floor. Like I didn't even see one other corner, one other fighter on our floor. I could hear them like a few rooms down, but like we never crossed paths. So they they probably put like two or three fighters per floor and really isolated and quarantined that whole hotel just for UFC fighters, corners, and officials and staff. So they did a good job. And after I tested positive, they just told me to wait in my room and then wait a few hours because they had to do some stuff and paperwork, I assume. And then I left and went home and stayed at home for a home quarantine for 2 weeks. So then I tested negative and went back to training.
All right. And after the Saeed fight, how was the mind? How was the body?
Um, yeah, it was of course it was a bummer, like no one wants to lose like that. After such a roller coaster of a ride from Philippines, getting COVID, and then going to Abu Dhabi, but yeah, shit happens, and I had that orbital fracture, so I had to have surgery for that, which took some time to recover. But after that, everything's back to normal. I feel good, body strong, mentally, everything. Yeah, good to go.
I know you're very active, man. You rarely ever sit still. So when you went through the surgery, was it tough for you to just kind of like sit back and not do anything?
Yeah, that actually really sucked. That was bad because they told me that yeah, they put a plate in my orbital, right? So they're like, yo, you really can't exert effort and force because air pressure, connected with your eye, you need to let it heal and set in place. So yeah, that was annoying. And for I think 2 months, they were like, don't do anything, no exercise, like no jogging, nothing. So athletes were literally the worst the worst patients, right? So of course, I started going out and doing stuff, and like they're like, okay, you can't exercise, but you can walk. And I'm like, okay, well, if I walk with my arms out holding dumbbells, then I can at least get some shoulder conditioning, and I won't be really exerting effort if I don't like move my face and I just like keep it like limp and still. But I'll get like some shoulder conditioning by like going like this with the dumbbells and just like walking up a hill, and just as long as I don't move my face, I'll be okay, So I was one of those, definitely pushing the boundaries with my surgery. But yeah, I was still careful, of course, and the doctors were pleased with my recovery and everything, so it was okay.
How was the training situation in the Philippines? I know you're in Baguio City, which is kind of away from the metropolitan area.
Hmm. Yeah, I yeah, in Baguio, I have some people I work with, and but most of my training is in Manila. So I like to travel between the two, and it's only a 4 hour trip now because they have a new expressway. So it's really not that hard to go back and forth between the two, which is what I normally do.
So even Manila, even with the high population there, there was nothing restricted for you in training at all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, yeah. Yeah, COVID's hit the Philippines pretty hard, and a lot of gyms and everything have been closed, and yeah, it's been pretty messy. But thankfully, some of my friends, they have private home gyms and stuff, so we get together and stay in our little bubble, and just work out at their private gyms. Um, but yeah, as far as like the big gyms and like yeah, the big gyms, they only started to reopen like just a few months ago, so it got a little tricky, but we made it work.
For sure. And you were supposed to return last March against Johnny Munoz. What exactly happened with
Yes.
that fight?
Yeah, I just got a nasty injury in training, and
Okay.
I tried to train through it for like a week or two, and then at a certain point, I was like, okay, this isn't gonna work. Can't tough through this one. This is just stupid. So we had to pull out of the fight, unfortunately. Um, yeah, that was why.
How many times have you done that in your career where you got an injury during camp and you just like, man, I'm just gonna tough through this, even though it hurts like hell, and I'm gonna fight?
The worst one was Yusuke Kawanago when I fought him in Legend FC. I tore my I think it was LCL in my knee, and I literally couldn't jog. I couldn't run, and like I just hit pads, and couldn't even wrestle. Couldn't do. Couldn't hardly a training camp. It was horrible. It was early in my career though. Very very naive and stupid of me looking back. But yeah, during that fight, I did say, okay, we're just going to tough it out and do it. And yeah, thankfully got the W. It was an ugly fight, got the split decision victory. But yeah, that was one of those fights where I probably should have pulled out, because if you can't run and you can't jog because your knee is, just can't bend properly, then you probably are in no condition to fight. But yeah.
Well, I guess lesson learned, with that one, right?
Yeah, no, lesson learned for
Yeah.
sure.
Now, go back to the fight coming up. You're in Arizona at the moment. I believe you're training at the lab. What is
Yep.
your connection there?
Yeah, well, my coach, George Castro from the Philippines, and formerly with Alliance in San Diego, he moved back to Phoenix. His hometown is originally Phoenix, so he moved back a few months ago. And yeah, of course, I wanted to train with him and do my camp with him. And then he tied up with the lab and introduced me to Coach Crouch. And yeah, that's how it came about.
How has that been gelling with the team over there?
Yeah, it's good. It's great. Everyone seems good vibes, and everyone's nice, and they have a great group of talented guys.
Yeah, they do. They have a stacked lineup over there, especially
For
guys
sure.
at your weight, bantamweight,
Yeah, yeah,
featherweight.
yeah.
There's a lot of guys there, right?
Definitely, definitely.
So who have you been working with mostly over there?
Um, just mixed group of guys. Still getting to know some of their names. But yeah, but no, just a bunch of good guys. I remember the first day we were warming up and we were doing like line drills, and then I just got paired up with Jared Cannonier, and that was pretty cool. I was like, oh right, that guy, Jared Cannonier. Oh yeah, we're doing line drills with this big guy. Cool. Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, no, there's a ton of good guys, and I got to work with Bryce Meredith the other day, who's a four-time NCAA All-American and great wrestler. So yeah, definitely a ton of good guys
Yeah,
to work with.
yeah. I think Arizona is like filled. All the gyms are filled with like crazy like wrestlers, just guys that
Yeah,
just
yeah. There's a lot of it's a big state for wrestling, that's for sure. Yeah.
How was that? Because I know you do like to grapple a lot, so it must be nice to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into the
no.
gym and high level stuff.
No, no, for sure. I mean, these guys are beasts, and like you said, there are a lot of good guys at 35 and 45. So, um, yeah, having high level training partners that I get to work with daily is it's a blessing.
Any sparring sessions with Sean O'Malley? I believe he still trains over there a little bit, right?
I haven't seen him yet.
Hmm.
I haven't seen him yet, but I think he does. I think he does come in sometimes, but I haven't. He hasn't been here yet.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other guys, man. It's great to see.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a ton of guys.
Like for yourself, what has been different for you so far working at the lab?
Um, well, just having everything in one place, like having I mean, in Manila, kind of have to move around a lot, and go to one place for striking, go to one place for wrestling, go to another place for strength conditioning, and really have to kind of structure your training like that versus here. And a lot of camps in the US, a lot of the bigger camps, everything is really in one place, which is convenient and which is nice.
You have a child, you have a family. Being away from them, is it harder, or is it easier to get used to now? Is it since it's your second camp, right, away from family?
Second camp, yeah. No, it's harder to be honest, because now I have a second kid. Now I have a baby girl as well. So now there's two of them, and yeah, I know it's hard, but it's the career I chose, and I can't complain. Now you got Facebook video, you got so many ways of keeping in touch. Like, think about so many years ago when people were writing letters. We're so spoiled by technology now. Like, of course, it's not the same as being there physically, but yeah, it's not the worst thing. I'll see them in like just what, a little over a month now, so it's all good.
Yeah, when you look at it like that, we are
Yeah,
very
well, that's how I
spoiled.
have to look at it too.
Yeah.
So try to stay positive and look at it like that, right?
For sure. Now, with everything that's going into this fight, man, what are your expectations in this fight? How do you see yourself getting that first UFC victory?
Yeah, I think, not gonna lie, I think it's gonna be a tough fight because Chaz is a scrappy guy, like his name says, and he's I think he's only been finished once, so it's gonna be a tough fight. But I'm ready for a war. I'm training for a war, and yeah, training really hard to bring the best version of myself come fight night and get that W. And with this win, it'll put me right in the mix with things for the UFC featherweight division.
Yeah, and going to featherweight, was that something that
Mm.
you decided, because I believe the last fight was supposed to be at bantamweight.
Yeah. I mean, featherweight. Yeah, featherweight. Some of most of my career I've actually fought at featherweight, but I can make bantamweight, although it's a pretty big cut. But that was one of the things we decided for this fight, that as I've gotten older, the bantamweight cut, it's it's pretty miserable. It's pretty miserable, and we just thought that at featherweight, I'd have more energy and be more durable too. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to go up back to featherweight.
And it doesn't seem like you're a small featherweight either.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe in height a little bit because I'm 5'8", and there's some tall guys like Chaz. I think Chaz is 5'11", but Chaz is a big featherweight actually, and I think he cuts a lot. Um, but yeah, I don't think I'm on the small. I don't think I'm a small featherweight. Probably about average size featherweight.
For sure. All right. A couple questions outside of your fight that I would like to ask you.
For sure.
MMA fans, man, you've been dealing with them for years and years now. So they could be some of the wildest people in the world. What do you think MMA fans obsess about that fighters really don't care about?
MMA fans obsess about. I'm not sure. What are you thinking? What do you mean?
I'll give you an example. Like
Okay, give me an
how
example.
a fighter looks during the weigh-ins. They dissect
Yeah.
that so much, but really, fighters, I don't think they look at it as such a a telling tale of like how a
Right,
fighter will
right,
perform.
right. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, honestly, yeah, that's a good example actually. Fans, they do try to dissect the wins and look at the fighters and look for tells and stuff, and like how they're looking at each other's and how. But honestly, at a weigh-in, a fighter's just like hungry and thirsty, and is just like, get me the hell out of here. Let's get this done and go rest in my hotel room and like hang out. And we're gonna do our thing tomorrow night anyway. 24 hours from then. So that's a good point. I agree with you on that. But at the same time, there are some tells, like, but it would have to be a pretty dramatic tell, like the guy's like freaking out and like won't even look the other guy in the eye at all or something like that, which you don't really see. So yeah, I think people read too much into weigh-ins, and really the fighters are just trying to make the weights and rest up so they can perform.
What do you think about fans saying a fighter is scared of another fighter?
um, yeah, it's stupid because all fighters are a little nervous or scared. I mean, I don't know if you'd use the word scared. The word is anxious, anxious that things won't go your way on the night of a fight because you train so hard and you want to perform to the best of your abilities. But it's not, the word is not scared, because it's your profession and you've signed a dotted line, you're committed to it. So, yeah, that's kind of silly.
MMA is filled with a lot of, you know, extraordinary moments and situations, and PTSD could come out of some of that. Some people call it shell shock. Have you ever been affected by that or seen it in other fighters around you?
Um, knock on wood, I haven't felt anything myself yet, and thankfully I haven't taken too much damage over the course of my well, been fighting for a little more than 10 years as a pro now, and thankfully, yeah, I haven't had taken too much damage, serious damage that is. But yeah, you see it with some fighters, and you don't want to name. I don't want to name drop, but yeah, you see some guys just slurring their words in MMA and in boxing, and it does make you think about you know, the hazards of the sport and how important it is to train smart and get the necessary recovery and really, you know, treat this as a proper profession, not just you know, not just a crazy brawl, I guess. Yeah.
Last question. Outside of the sport, good or bad, what usually keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Um, uh, my kids, because they're my kids these days. Yeah. But keeps my wife up even more because she's yeah, because as a dad, you know, with a 3-year-old kid and a 1-year-old, with 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl, like I
Mm,
can't do much, you know. Like
yeah.
they don't want me, they want her, they want comfort from her, you know. Like I got like a timer, I got like a window before they get tired of me, and then they want to go to her, you know. So I'll
Mm,
do all I can and like sing and act silly and walk around in circles, you know. But it's just a matter of time before they want their mom. Um, but yeah, these days at night, yeah, it's yeah, harder for my wife to get a good full night's sleep. Um, but yeah, kids are a lot of fun, but definitely a little tiring too. So I guess it's good that I'm doing my training camp over in the States, so I can get better hours of sleep too.
All right,
For
man.
sure.
February 19th, UFC Fight Night, Las Vegas. Mark, appreciate the time, man. Good luck on the fight, and we'll speak soon again.
Sounds good, bro. Take care, man.
All right.
Thank you, brother.